You're listening to the NZ Drummer Podcast, in-depth conversations with local and international drummers. My name's Andrew Rooney, full-time drummer and drum tutor based right here in Auckland, New Zealand. If you have a passion for drumming, welcome. You're in the right place. Practice and career tips, behind-the-scenes stories, and real-world advice from the best drummers on the planet. Let's do it. Stephen Taylor, welcome to the NZ Drummer Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Now, Stephen, we've had a few chats and we're going to do a full episode in the future.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about something that's very current, very relevant to what's going on right now. Bizarrely, in only a few weeks, a certain illness has caused some havoc, some chaos for some people.
Quite a bit.
I thought it was really interesting and really positive how you made an Instagram post just the other day, or maybe a few weeks back now, where you were talking about things that we can still do.
Absolutely.
I'd just love to give you a platform just to vocalize some of those points, because I took a lot out of it, and I think anybody else would at this time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to give you just a little perspective, I went through 9/11. I was gigging on Bourbon Street at that time. I was 20, I believe. And all of my work immediately dried up because the tourism industry was put to a halt here. And so I picked up side jobs, lost gigs, all of that stuff. Then I went through Hurricane Katrina down in Mississippi. And that completely wiped my schedule, as all the boats that we used to do casinos and all that stuff, it just came to a halt. And so I've been through this sort of thing several times, and I always like to try to put a positive spin on it, whether that be injuring myself and having to practice through that, or that be losing gigs, or whatever that is. I think it's, yes, it's a chance to lose something, but I think it's also a chance to gain something and to look in a positive way and see how you can put a spin on that to where you come out better on the other side, rather than just viewing it as a negative event. So that's kind of my lens that I try to view things through.
Absolutely. I love that. This really becomes a moment where your own personality comes through, right?
I think so.
So if you're a positive person, if you sort of look for opportunities, then now is the time. It is the golden opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. And the post you were talking about was just, I jotted down 20 things that, because everybody was just, everybody is talking about what they can't do. And
yes.
We can't do this, we can't do this, now we can't do this. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, but we can do all of these things. And a lot of them you have time to do that you didn't have time before. So, and it is very serious for even people in our industry. I talked to somebody in New York, it's a jazz drummer. He's had 3 months of tours cancel, and they're on complete lockdown there. I haven't. My son's drum teacher, he's had to pick up a side job. So lots of things affecting. But the positive things, 20 things we can still do. So the thing we can still do is practice the drums. We can do that even more now for some people. So we have time to dive into and really dig into those areas that you think need work. We have time to play the drums. The second thing would be play the drums. That's different than practice drums. We have time to just sit down and create with them. And no pressure, nowhere to go. We have time to sit down and really come up with a composition, or just play them for enjoyment, A third thing is we have time to play music. Just play to your favorite music. Play to your favorite songs. Studies have shown that even just 13 minutes of listening to your favorite songs, that music that gives you chills, alters the chemical balance in your brain. It gives you positive vibes as little as 13 minutes. So we have time to play the music. We have time to listen to more music, to do critical deep listening, where we put on albums and we put on headphones and we close our eyes and we sit down in a comfortable chair and we actually sit there and we just listen with everything blocked out. We can still do that, The fifth thing would be we can still work on our drum tuning. Everybody always avoids that, right? It's that drum that sounds horrible. No, stay away from that one. Just don't hit it. And it's like, well, we have time now on our hands to sit there and tune the drum, see what it sounds like.
In those moments, man, I just buy a new drum kit. It has to be the drum's fault.
I've totally been at that spot with several times in my career. A sixth thing that we can do is learn the 4D rudiments. So many people put this off.
Oh, yeah.
And we can still learn our rudiments. So, be that weird guy that walks around the house, or weird girl that walks around the house reciting paradiddles all day, or, You know, my old drum teacher, he wound up going to boot camp and playing in the Air Force Band, and he said he got through boot camp because all he did while they were yelling at him was recite rudiments in his head. And so, hey, you know, if it gets you through it, it gets you through. So you have time to focus on those rudiments. The seventh thing that we can still do is watch a music documentary or a documentary that inspires you. I did a live stream with my students this morning. And there's so many great ones. There's Standing in the Shadows of Motown. There's one on ZZ Top. There's The Wrecking Crew. There's Hired Guns. There's one on JoJo Mayer that's on YouTube. I think there's one on Bill Evans on YouTube. There's one of my favorite is not a music documentary, but it's Jiro Dreams of Sushi, Jiro, and that's on Netflix. It's just amazing at being great at your craft. So we can still watch documentaries, you know. The eighth thing we can still do is read a biography on your favorite musician. Miles Davis has a great one. Sting has a great one. Like, and. We have the time to dig into that. If you're not practicing, we can do music-related activities. We can still download new to you music. That's different than just new music. It's new to you. So what I'd love to do is let's use social media for something besides just freaking out or adding stress to our lives or seeing how much we're missing out on. Let's use it to just everyone do a post like this. Hey, everybody comment some music that you think I need to listen to. Give me one album that's your favorite that you think I would like. Let me know, you know, old, new. And I get new music like that all the time. The 10th one would be watch recorded concerts. It's a perfect time. There's so much great stuff. And there's even some bands that are doing a lot of live streams right now just to keep fans engaged and stuff. So it's a perfect time to dive into some of that. A 12th thing would be transcribe a drum part, or the 11th thing, would be transcribe a drum part that you love. You know, work on your critical listening, just like we talked about listening to music. The 12th thing that we can still do is learn a new song. Take time to make yourself, I'd like to make myself sample set lists of like my dream band, and then I'll go learn that set list. And then I use that, you know, in my practice time just to keep myself brushed up. 13th thing would be write music. I'm doing that with a friend. We've got a project we've been meaning to do, and we're just shooting ideas back and forth. He's got time, I've got time. 14th thing that we can still do is start a new drum method book. So that book that's been sitting on your shelf, I've got several. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a teacher, and I got several method books that have been sitting on my shelf. Pull one out, start going through it, dedicate, like in 3 weeks, I'm going to be through this book, you know, and that'll require you to practice. Something else we can still do is take an online drum class. It can be from anyone. Maybe it's about music, maybe it's not. There's tons of great drumming resources out there. There's tons of great stuff out there for you to get involved in that I didn't have growing up, and I didn't, you know, I'm not that old. Another thing that we can still do, I did this just this morning. A lot of musicians have had work cancel, and there are a lot of killer musicians that are giving some Skype lessons right now.
Oh, 100%.
It is such a great opportunity to get in. And I actually just booked a lesson this morning with Dave King, because he announced, hey, until June, I'm going to be doing lessons. Because that's what people don't realize. It's not just a couple weeks of tours have canceled. They've canceled the entire spring leg of tours. So that means 3 months. And so he's like, hey, I'm going to be here a while. Immediately, I didn't even think about it. I was like, bam, lesson with Dave King.
Again, man, opportunity, right?
100%.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, this is something I wouldn't have gotten, you know, I couldn't do, and now I can. 17th thing is listen to a music podcast. Hey, this is what we're doing right now, right? I've got a podcast, The Drum Show. Tim Ferriss has a great podcast where he interviews lots of great music people, in-depth people. You've got a great podcast. There's just tons of great music podcasts out there and music-related podcasts to get into. We can still improve our drum setup. So tear your drums all the way down to the ground and start with just the snare drum, and then build your kit back up around those little quirks. Whenever you go to your floor tom, you're dropping sticks because the rim's there. Like, fix that. Dig in and figure out what's the height issue. This past year, I took the time to raise my seat a little bit, which caused me to raise my snare drum a little bit, which has wreaked havoc on my backbeats, which is, you know, it's like a constant learning thing for me, you know? And the guy that edits my video, Tim Buell, he's a great drummer himself. He laughs at me because he knows I made a change. He thinks it's working to make me a more consistent and get a better consistent feel, but he knows it's been a change for me. So he kind of chuckles whenever I'm dropping sticks and things like that.
It's like when Tiger Woods adjusted his swing.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's like, I don't want to move that. But the 19th thing you can do is set detailed goals for your drumming. And so sit down at the table and really like for a couple of hours, think deep. Like, why are you playing the drums? What can you do?
Love it.
What do you need to be doing? What are the 2 to 3 things in the next 6 to 12 months that you want to be better at? And then make a plan to get there, and then start working that plan. And then the 20th one that I think everyone should be doing, I've been digging into it. There's a great book called Why We Sleep. It would be get more sleep so you can play more drums. Tonight, I'm planning on going to bed around 8:30. I'll admit it. Like, I'm that guy. Like, hey, I'm going to be in bed because I wake up early. I'm going to get up. I'm going to work out in the morning. I'm going to get my day started so that I can get as much drumming, as much teaching, as much, today was a content creation day, as much stuff in as I can do. I want to get that in there. I've got guys that are taking the opportunity. I've got a drummer coming over here from a group that I used to, our band played a couple shows with them on the road. He's coming over here to get a lesson tomorrow afternoon. So, it's, that may be breaking the quarantine rules, but it's a great opportunity for us to just kind of hook up in my own home. He's been in his home. It's like, hey, let's just get together. And then, so there's all kinds of opportunities depending on how severe the quarantine is or whatever it is, wherever you're living. For some people, like my buddy in New York, it's, you leave to go to the grocery store. New York has 50 to 60% of the cases in the U.S. of this thing.
Right.
And here in Tennessee, we've seen, I don't know, a few hundred in the whole state. So it's just different depending on where you live as to the severity of it. So I don't know. I just think everybody needs to dig in and think about what can you still do.
Stephen, we can either hide under the sheets in our bed for 2 months, or we could improve on the drums, man. To me, it's almost as simple as that.
Yep, 100%.
Do you want to come flying out of the gates, or do you want to come crawling out when it's time? Because gigs are going to be popping, man. Work is going to be off the hook. People are going to want entertainment.
Yeah, and this is a great time where if you are a musician and you have seen your work dry up, it's a great time to really put some thought into, okay, the next time this happens, how could my work not completely dry up? That's what I did with every major event that happened in my career. And now, I'm very fortunate to say that my work has not changed at all this go round. We're, looking to do the best month we've ever done. That's not a humble brag by any means. That is, I learned, I took the hard hits, I took it on the chin, and I said, hey, next time, how could I do this differently? How could I do it better? And how could I improve myself? And if you do that through every downturn in your life, you'll find that they're not really downturns. You'll find that they're upturns, just not in the way that you expected it.
That's great. It's almost like a forced upskill in a way.
Yeah.
I know in my situation, being a one-on-one private drum teacher and performing musician, while the gigs disappeared, they're completely gone. But with the lessons I've had to convert myself to online, it's been amazing. It's been the hugest learning experience. And I managed to get myself ready in a day to do it. So there's nothing like pressure to incentivized pressure to get ready and get this thing happening. I mean, I could have spent 6 to 9 months getting myself set up for online lessons.
Yep.
But I didn't have that amount of time. So I did it in a day. And again, sorry, that's not to brag or try and make myself look special. It's just the situation.
Yeah, I'm all for, I tell people all the time, I like to get a bloody nose, and while I'm getting that bloody nose, go ahead and win the fight while I'm at it. So it might come out dirty, but at the same time, I'm going to come out, with a gain. I would rather do things quick, just kind of pull the Band-Aid off very quickly than drag it out like that.
Stephen, just before I let you go, and I really appreciate your time.
Oh, I appreciate you having me.
Essentially, we're really talking about music here. Your post obviously was relevant to musicians especially. What would you say to someone who is feeling really anxious and concerned and fearful, I guess, at this time, just in general? Have you got any tips for those people?
Yeah, it's very easy to become overcome by anxiety and fear. And just like a virus spreads, those two things very much spread like a virus. I spend a lot of time trying to make sure that I'm not just grounded on a professional level, but that I'm grounded on a personal level, whether that be through family or whether that be through faith, whatever that means for each individual person. I spend a lot of time looking at the different areas of my life, professional, personal, family, and when I look at those, those are the areas in this time whenever it's like, okay, I can't go anywhere, my professional life may be tanked, I really like to lean on the other pillars that I've tried to build my life around, which are family and faith and my personal strength. And I spend a lot of time really diving into, I would encourage people to, if you're feeling anxious, spend some time alone with that anxiety and try to figure out what that is and why that is, and figure out how you can control the anxiety instead of the anxiety controlling you. I tell my kids all the time, you have a choice with what kind of mood you're in. You have a definite choice. You can choose to be controlled by your emotions, or you can choose to control those. And so I would encourage people to just dive in. If you're feeling anxious, then just dive in and confront it full force and feel all the anxiety, and then look at it and try to stand outside of it and figure out what that is. Figure out where you're basing your feelings and your self-worth and your happiness and all of those things. And if you can start to figure out some of those questions, it makes the next time around not near as bad.
Wow, that's absolutely fantastic, man. I'd also like to add, I was a long-time skeptic of meditation, and that has really helped with all these kind of feelings.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It helps a ton.
And if you're not sure about meditation and you're like I was, a little bit skeptical of it, Headspace is a great app which actually guides you through these things, and there's all different sections, like anxiety, happiness, health, all these things. It's amazing.
It's a fantastic app.
I would also possibly suggest controlling your access to the media. Because
I forget about that. I forget that people actually watch that stuff. So I always forget to say that. So I don't watch the news. I assume they're going to do what they're going to do. I stay informed enough to know what's going on.
Yes.
I really try to limit, my business is run on social media. And so I try to limit the amount of time that I spend on my social media homepages, looking, searching. I just put that stuff down. Once I'm done with work, I try to get off of my mobile devices, and I just try to engage with my family. They're playing outside right now. So as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to just go out there and I'll forget about news and social media and all of that stuff. So 100% disconnect from 24-hour news and social media. It's just not going to help the situation at all.
You have to think about, they have to fill those 24 hours, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And they have to fill them with clickbait. That, unfortunately, is how it works.
Yeah.
It's competitive news. They want your viewership, and how are they going to get it? By being sensational.
If you want to see kind of a funny view of this, Anchorman 1, obviously, one of the greatest movies ever. But the second Anchorman, which the first time I watched it, both Anchorman, the first time I watched them, I didn't like them as much. And then the second time I watched both of them, I thought they were genius. So Anchorman 2 is fantastic because they deal with 24-hour news. And they deal with the real lunacy that goes on with 24-hour news. So if you really want to get a good laugh during this time, go watch Anchorman 2, and it dives into the 24-hour news cycle and what it's all about.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I guess finally, don't hoard toilet paper, right?
No, good Lord. Jeez, I don't even...
What is that?
Makes me question my humanity. What is happening here? Of all the essentials that we need right now, that is not one of them.
Are you going to eat that toilet paper?
Yeah,
what is the... I don't know.
Yeah, I totally get it. Totally get it.
Stephen, I'm going to let you go outside and enjoy your family time, brother.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
I think this is going to be really helpful and beneficial to a lot of people, myself included. And Stephen, I look forward to having a really great chat about your origin story and what you're up to.
I'm looking forward to it myself. We'll talk soon.
All right. Talk soon.
Bye.